It's the most humbling thing I've ever seen. 70% of all EVs in the world, electric vehicles, are made in China. They have far superior in-vehicle technology. Huawei and Xiaomi are in every car.
Ford CEO Jim Farley has visited China 6 or 7 times in the past year to study the competition. After those trips, he stood at the Aspen Ideas Summit and called what he saw the most humbling thing he had ever experienced in his career. His exact words about Chinese vehicle technology were that it was far superior to what he saw in the West. That is not a commentator or a critic. That is the head of America's second-largest automaker warning his own industry that if legacy companies fail to account for what China is building, then 20 to 30% of their revenue is at risk. This video is a direct comparison of where Chinese and American cars stand in 2026 across safety, technology, price, reliability, and market results. The answers are not what most American audiences expect, and the data is not coming from Chinese sources. It is coming from Euro NCAP crash tests, J.D. Power surveys, McKinsey, Bloomberg, Consumer Reports, and the CEO of Ford. By the end of this video, you will understand why a growing number of the world's car buyers are choosing Chinese brands and why America's auto industry is spending billions trying to close a gap it did not see coming. Section 1. The crash test results that changed the conversation. 10 years ago, China's crash test record was a genuine embarrassment. When Chinese automakers began exporting vehicles to Europe in the early 2000s, the crash tests made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Models from several brands earned 0 or 1-star ratings from Euro NCAP, the gold standard for independent vehicle safety assessment in the world's most regulated auto market. The general consensus was that Chinese manufacturing had not yet developed the structural engineering to protect occupants in serious collisions. That consensus is now outdated, and the speed of the reversal is one of the most striking data points in the modern automotive industry. Every single Chinese vehicle submitted to Euro NCAP in 2023 received 5 stars. All 9 models tested. In 2024, 4 more Chinese cars earned 5 stars, including the Deepal S07, which recorded a 95% adult occupant score, the highest of any vehicle tested that year. Then, in late 2025, the NIO Firefly recorded a 96% adult occupant protection score. That is the highest safety score in Euro NCAP's entire history. Not the highest for a Chinese car, the highest for any car from any country ever tested by that organization. For context, these are vehicles from the same country that was producing 0-star crash tests a decade earlier. The improvement is not incremental. It is a generational leap in manufacturing and engineering capability accomplished in roughly 7 years. American vehicles also score well in crash tests. The Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Chevy Equinox EV, and several mainstream American models earn strong NHTSA and IIHS ratings. The American safety record is not the problem. The problem, for American automakers, is that the Chinese safety record used to be the problem, and it no longer is. That competitive moat is gone. Section 2. The technology gap that nobody in Detroit wants to admit. Ford CEO Farley did not just say Chinese cars were humble in price. He specifically called out the technology inside them as far superior to Western vehicles. His direct quote was that Chinese cars have far superior in-vehicle technology, and that Huawei and Xiaomi are in every car. Meaning that when he sits down in a Chinese vehicle, his entire digital life is mirrored automatically, without pairing, without setup, without the frustration that American drivers accept as normal. This is the gap that researchers at Contrary Research described as the difference between a smartphone on wheels and a car that still feels like a computer from 10 years ago. Chinese automakers, particularly BYD, NIO, XPeng, and the Xiaomi Automotive Division, have built vehicles around software-first principles, over-the-air updates that genuinely improve driving behavior, not just fix bugs. AI voice recognition that understands natural speech without needing specific command phrases. fully integrated navigation that connects to real-time traffic, charging stations, and restaurant reservations without a third-party app. Rotating touchscreens, heads-up displays on entry-level models, augmented reality navigation overlaid on the road ahead. The XPeng P7 carries one of the most advanced autonomous driving systems currently available to consumers, running the XNGP platform that BYD's own research rated above competitors in real-world urban performance. The NIO ET7 achieved the highest adult occupant safety score of any vehicle Euro NCAP tested in 2023 and pairs that structural safety with a 1,000-kilometer range using the brand's battery swap system that replaces an empty pack with a full one in 5 minutes. Compare that to the average American buyer's experience, a 9-inch touchscreen that requires Apple CarPlay to make the maps usable, a voice assistant that needs exact phrasing to understand basic commands, software updates that arrive once or twice a year, and sometimes introduce new bugs while fixing old ones. Ford's own infotainment system, called Sync 4, has been documented freezing on startup, losing phone connections mid-call, and requiring a manual reboot roughly every third startup, according to owner forums. GM's infotainment issues have generated enough NHTSA complaints to appear in recall filings. This is not a minor gap in features. The CEO of Ford flew to China, drove the competition, and told a national audience that what he saw in those vehicles was something his own company could not currently match. Section 3. The price difference that explains why tariffs exist. The BYD Seagull is a 4-passenger electric hatchback with a 10.1-inch infotainment screen, wireless phone charging, and color-matched interior stitching that automotive engineers from Carasoft Global described as craftsmanship that rivals vehicles costing 3 times as much. The doors close solidly. The seats are comfortable. The car handles highway speeds and curves without drama. It has 1 windshield wiper instead of 2, saving a motor, an arm, weight, and assembly time in a piece of engineering efficiency that American car companies, according to Carasoft President Terry Wojciechowski, simply do not design for. The BYD Seagull costs $7,800 in China as of May 2025. The cheapest new car available in the United States in that same period was the Nissan Versa, starting at $18,330. The average new vehicle transaction price in America was $47,962. The Seagull is not available in the United States. The federal government has imposed a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicle imports, stacked on top of a 2.5% passenger car duty and an additional 25% global auto tariff, bringing the total effective import cost to approximately 247.5% of the vehicle's purchase price. Even with all of that, analysts calculate a tariffed Seagull would land in the United States at roughly $26,000, which would still make it one of the most affordable new electric vehicles on the American market and would directly undercut several current mainstream options. The reason those tariffs exist at this level is not quality concerns. The Seagull passed engineering teardown review from a Michigan firm that has studied hundreds of vehicles. The reason is straightforward economic protection. If the Seagull sold freely in America at $26,000 with its feature set and build quality, it would put meaningful pressure on vehicles that currently sell for $40,000 to $55,000. Elon Musk said in 2024 that without trade barriers, Chinese EV makers would pretty much demolish most competitors globally. That is not an assessment from a hostile source. That is the founder of Tesla, describing what happens when the price wall comes down. The BYD Seal, the brand's mid-range sedan, costs the equivalent of roughly $25,000 to $35,000 and delivers equivalent battery capacity, performance, and features to a Tesla Model 3 at $8,000 to $12,000 less before any regional incentives, according to independent analysis. Section 4. The market numbers that tell the real story. In 2024, China overtook Japan as the world's largest vehicle exporter for the first time in history. Japan had held that title for 25 years. McKinsey data shows that in 2019, China exported roughly 700,000 vehicles globally. In 2024, that figure was 5.5 million. Forecasts released in July 2025 projected Chinese exports could exceed 7 million units by the end of the year. In 2025, BYD sold 4.6 million vehicles globally. Ford sold 4.4 million. For the first time in automotive history, a Chinese brand outsold an American one in total global vehicle volume, and Ford's CEO reported a full-year net loss of $8.2 billion in the same earnings call, where he called Chinese competition a wild card that all global automakers must now deal with. 6 of the world's top 10 electric vehicle sellers in 2025 were Chinese brands. BYD alone outsold Tesla as the world's largest EV manufacturer with 2.25 million units against Tesla's 1.64 million. Chinese domestic brands held 65% market share inside China itself, meaning that American and European brands that once dominated one of the world's biggest markets have been largely pushed out by domestic competitors offering better technology at lower prices. In Australia, BYD is now a top-selling EV brand competing directly with Tesla. In Europe, despite EU tariffs of 17.4% on top of standard duties, Chinese brands are establishing real market share across Germany, the UK, France, and Scandinavia. MG, owned by SAIC, reached approximately 165 dealer points in Germany alone, and holds the second best-selling EV position in the United Kingdom, behind only Tesla's Model Y. In Southeast Asia, South America, and the Middle East, Chinese brands are building manufacturing facilities, local service centers, and dealer networks rather than simply exporting from China. The competitive trajectory is not speculation. It is a 5-year record of market share gains in every geography that Chinese brands have entered. Section 5. What Chinese cars still get wrong and why it matters. The case for Chinese automotive quality is real and supported by independent data. That does not mean the comparison is without nuance, and being honest about where American and Japanese vehicles still hold advantages matters for any buyer making a real decision. Reliability over time is the most legitimate open question. ADAC breakdown statistics from Germany for 2023 and 2024 show that Chinese brands have higher breakdown call-out rates than Toyota and Honda, though the gap has narrowed significantly year over year. Toyota and Honda remain the lowest breakdown brands in ADAC data. BYD's initial quality scores are strong, but the company has faced recalls including steering system fixes at scale, and several other Chinese brands show strong initial quality that softens after 2 to 3 years. A pattern consistent with manufacturers still in the early stages of multi-generational reliability refinement. The range claim problem is also real. Chinese automakers typically use the CLTC testing standard, which is the China Light-Duty Vehicle Test Cycle, a more lenient measure than the EPA standard Americans are used to. A BYD seal advertised at 520 kilometers of range under CLTC delivers approximately 360 to 380 kilometers in real-world mixed driving, a gap of 25 to 30%. American and European EPA-rated vehicles also overstate real-world range, but the gap runs 15 to 20% rather than 25 to 30%. Service infrastructure outside China is still limited for most brands. A BYD customer in rural Colorado documented a 3-week vehicle downtime for a minor battery management fault because the nearest qualified service facility was 180 miles away, and the parts had to ship from China with an 8 to 12-day lead time. That is not hypothetical risk. It is a documented 2025 ownership experience. NIO operated only 12 European service stations as of early 2025. Parts availability for newer Chinese brands can mean 3 to 8 week waits for non-standard components. Established Chinese brands like MG have built out local parts warehousing and dealer coverage that materially reduces this problem, but the infrastructure gap remains real for buyers who do not live near major urban centers. Resale value in Western markets is also weaker than Japanese or American equivalents. Chinese brands have not yet built the brand equity that sustains resale pricing 5 years after purchase. A buyer who prioritizes trade in value in 3 to 4 years will likely do better with a Toyota or Honda than a BYD or NIO at this stage. The results of comparing Chinese and American cars in 2026 are genuinely surprising, and the surprise runs in one direction more than the other. Chinese vehicles now hold the all-time record for safety in Euro NCAP history. Chinese EVs offer technology that the CEO of Ford flew across the Pacific to study and came home describing as far superior to what his own company produces. The best-selling EV brand in the world by volume is Chinese. The world's largest vehicle exporter is China. A Chinese automaker now outsells Ford globally. And a Chinese electric hatchback costing under $10,000 domestically is being described by American automotive engineers as craftsmanship that rivals vehicles costing 3 times as much. American cars, and specifically American brand loyalty, American safety standards, American resale value, and American service infrastructure still matter and still provide real ownership advantages. Toyota and Honda, both Japanese, remain the gold standard for long-term reliability, and the comparison is not as clean as the headline suggests. American trucks in particular have no serious Chinese competitor entering the market yet. And tariffs currently make the most disruptive Chinese products legally unavailable to American buyers, a protection that has real economic value. But the broader picture is clear. The assumption that Chinese cars are cheap imitations of Western engineering is not supported by the data that existed in 2026. The assumption that American and European automakers are the quality benchmark is also not supported by the data. What the data supports is that China built a competitive automotive industry in less than 25 years, is currently outpacing every Western manufacturer in EV technology and pricing, and is being kept out of the American market not because its products are inferior, but because they are affordable enough to fundamentally disrupt an industry that employs millions of Americans and generates hundreds of billions in revenue. That is not a story about cheap cars. That is a story about one of the most significant industrial transformations of the past century, happening faster than most of the world expected.